Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 2 August 2015 and just got a little short one for you here. This is the second video in the last year or so on the channel for the Columbia River Knife and Tool Ripple. I did a from the sharpening bench video for a customer knife on the small aluminum handled liner lock 8CR 13 MOV version, Chinese made, and I liked that knife for what it was and for where it was made. I really did, and I've ever since sort of had a hankering for the Acuto 440 stainless steel Framelock version, and I really wanted a large one. And last week my buddy Toad Sticker Rick had this available for sale, a very lightly used knife, but you know, lightly used for Toad Sticker means yeah, it's going to be all scratched up. So what the heck, 45 bucks shipped to my door, a knife I've really wanted and didn't want to spend a lot of money for. I think this might be the first large I've had in hand. I can't remember if Lori Campbell's knife was large or small. I can tell you one thing, on the Framelock versions of the Ripple, you got to really be careful, especially if you get one with a pretty aggressive detent. When you're flipping the knife open, you got to stay off that lock bar. Not so difficult with the left hand, but with the right hand you really got to sort of pay attention. This one doesn't have such an aggressive detent as Lori's did, and you can see it's a sweet flipping knife. It really sort of prefers being light switched. Pull back to the push button. It is an IKBS bearing knife, meaning about 300 little tiny ball bearings that are not restrained on each side of the blade. And I did take this one apart. One interesting little feature on this Ripple that I hadn't seen on other CRKT knives that use IKBS, they have like some very thin, I want to call them nylotron covers, like dust covers for the bearings. So they along with some grease in the bearing channel sort of help keep the bearings in place during reassembly, and I think they also help to keep debris out of the bearings. Now what I use when I'm reassembling an IKBS knife, both as a lubricant and to hold the bearings in the channel, I like to use my good old Finish Line fluorinated grease. This is like the cheaper alternative to Chris Reeve fluoro grease. Pack them like wheel bearings. So I fill the channel with the grease, put the bearings in, smooth off the excess, put the knife together. And it works really, really well. Now, before I get into the ergos of the knife and things like that, let's go over some dimensions. You got a 3 3/16 inch. I don't know, man. Do you call that a drop point? Do you call it a spear point? Do you call it a modified sheep's foot? It's an onion blade. Really not too different in profile to a Spyderco leaf-shaped blade, is it? And it is hollow ground from about 3/4 breadth down, very thin behind the edge. Take a look at how narrow my 15-degree secondary bevel is. Handle length is 4 3/8 inches. So let's see, 4 3/8 plus 3 3/16 is 7, and what does that make it about? 9/16? Yeah. And overall length, the handle is only 332 thousandths thick, super slim in pocket. Blade stock is 100 thousandths, and the knife weighs 3.1 ounces. What else do we have with an all metal construction? This is a stainless steel Framelock, by the way. All metal construction. that's lightweight with a pretty long blade. Well, how about that? Benchmade 940. Yeah, about $100 more. You know, is it worth it? Well, it is to me, but both great knives. Oh, what's this? It's a preview of the Laurie S.L. Campbell Shibagin knife. Laurie, this will be heading out in a couple days. Thought you'd like to see it. Yeah, there's a pretty good comparison, I think. I would call the 940 more of a lightweight super knife. I would call this a very well executed modern Gent folder. And for all this visual texture in the handle, it is not like a grabby knife in pocket. I just want you to kind of pay attention to some detail on this knife. And of course, the big knock on this knife for me and a lot of other people, it is a tip-up right-hand carry only pocket clip. I mean, really? What am I supposed to do with this? I like tip up, and I'm a left-handed person, and I got a tip-down right-hand carry only clip. You know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick it in my left pocket, I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to open it. So that's that. But I want you to look at the finish on this blade. And it is satin, top to bottom satin finish on both the flats and the primary grind. And a beautifully crowned spine with super effective jimping. I mean, beautifully crowned. And that crown spine works its way seamlessly into that swedge. The symmetry on the grind was beautiful. And then in the ricasso of the knife, it's also crowned. You'll notice, however, that my ricasso is a little bigger than stock, but not much, maybe a third bigger. That might be twice as big. I just couldn't see on this knife why you have a rather large ricasso, beautifully crowned, but not big enough to put a finger in it. And of course, if you look at the plunge grind, you can see that it was probably intruding, and it was, into the edge grind. So once again, killing two birds with one stone. We have a proper edge geometry all the way to the base, and a forward finger choil after my mod. And I carried that crowning all the way through that forward choil. So that is not a flat section of spine. It's nice and rounded. Just beautiful to slip that finger in. Super comfortable, which you kind of need because the handle's so darn narrow. It's nice to have that rounded choil because you're probably going to use it for stability if you're in that forward grip. You guys are going to have to price check these new, but I think they're what, about $65 now, August 2015. What a very great value they are. The steel apparently performs very well. It takes a wicked edge, even on an Edge Pro. I got to do a paper cut for you because I think it's kind of impressive. This is 15 degrees per side, secondary bevel with a 19-degree micro. Whoop, that angle. Trying to get you a good S-curve here. There we go. I'm in a standing position tonight because I got a sore back and my paper cutting angle of attack is a little off. But trust me, it's a scalpel. It's a very good Murray Carter test edge. Doesn't take much pressure or much motion to start parting the skin. And by the way, the stainless steel Framelock Acuto 440 versions of the Ripple are made in Taiwan. And the small things versus the aluminum handled Chinese made Ripple are noticeable. The blade grinds are much more consistent. The symmetry on the factory edge much better. Just a really, really good offering from Ken Onion and Columbia River Knife and Tool. Not very often, guys, you're going to hear me rave about a CRKT knife. But if you don't have one of these, you got to get one of these. They don't cost much. And they sure are sweet. Great Sunday go to meeting knife. Great letter opener, splinter digger. You name it. Thought you'd like to see it, and a great thumbs up recommendation for this knife. Thank you, Toad Sticker. I appreciate it. That's all for tonight, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.